steps forward, slide 1 step back.
Ah.
And so I'm hanging on to Adam's shirt. Adam's hanging on to Puddin's shirt. And Jacob's sitting at the top. He's a skinny kid. He's like, what's taking you guys so long? He ran up and down the hill 3 times. And we're just huffing and puffing. And we're like trudging up this hill. And we take 2 steps and we slide back 1. We take 2 steps, we slide back 1. So we're like halfway up the hill. We're like, but if we stop, we'll just keep sliding all the way back down. So we get to the top. We're like, this never happened. And we're like, good. But it was one of those. It was so funny. It was like I could just picture the cartoon in my head.
Yeah.
You know, it was 3 bigger guys and 1 guy. Like, why did we even try that? But yeah. So it was to me the camp makes all the difference.
Definitely.
The camp and the staff.
I found out that there's a lot of Topeka staffers at Ed Bryant Scout Reservation in Wisconsin.
Really?
John Davis. I don't know if you've met him yet. He's part of the venturing crew and he does a lot with the Venturing Officers Association.
Our venturing crew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 176 out of Grand Blanc, and he works at Ed Bryant Scout Reservation. And he's talking to me about all the people that are there, and that it's just ran like Topeka because he once went to Topeka as well, and he wanted to staff there, and then they closed. So he's like, yeah, Ed Bryant is just like Topeka, da 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 da. It's different, obviously, but it's got that same vibe. And I'm like, I gotta head out there this summer at least once to see how it is.
Yeah. And they actually, I was kind of mad because they had one last like camp at Topeka. It was like a closing camp, and I missed it.
Oh.
I was like, man, if I would have known about that, I would have taken the weekend off.
Yeah.
Went and camped, and they had like these patches you could get for like, say goodbye to Topeka. And I missed all that. I'm like, man.
Dang. I bet Sunshine was up there. And Barbie.
Sunshine. I think Snow was up there too. Do you remember Nathan Snow?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think he was there he's still a counselor.
I thought he was a camp director at DBRA.
He could be.
For the Boy Scout side. That's what Andy was talking to me about, Andy Black.
Yeah, I only saw him. I saw him like last year.
Yeah.
And he was doing something at a camp.
Yeah.
Because he was a big camper.
Definitely. I know Andy did the medical side for DBRA. I think it was for the Cub Scout side. And then he's the Boy Scout camp director, I believe. Because, yeah, he originally was like the lodge chief. That's how I knew Nate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I went to I think my ordeal thingamabopper, and it was absolutely amazing.
You went to RNYLT too, right?
Yeah, the one at Halakha.
You went the last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan Snow, I think, was there on the last year.
I think he was. Yeah, he was on staff.
Because he had it was funny because he had never been through NYLT before, but we needed staff members, and he said he would do it, so he came up, and then so we gave him all 3 bars.
Oh wow!
Because he staffed, and came through, and so we, and he was kind of taking the course with everyone else, so because he went through it and he had actually learned everything, we gave him all 3 bars.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I still have my bars.
Me too. I wear them every
time you put on the scout uniform.
Every time I put on a scout uniform.
I got yelled at for wearing those in Ohio. I went to a venturing event called World Fest.
Yeah.
And it's a decent event. And when I went down there, this guy's like, "You shouldn't be wearing that with the venturing uniform. What do those stand for?" I was like, "Well, that's funny you asked. It's our recruiting tool for NYLT." And then I went on to talk about it. And he's like, "Oh, I know what that is, but you shouldn't be wearing that with a uniform. And, and why are you wearing your eagle pin?" And I'm like, yo, dude, like, I'm just wearing my uniform. I'm doing my thing.
When you're allowed to wear if you get an eagle in Boy Scouts, you're allowed to wear it on your venturing uniform.
Yeah. There's a lot of old Scouters that don't understand that, but you can. National approves it. And I have to have, like, the correct uniform because I represent with the gold epaulets. I represent national,
right.
Being the Area 2 president. So, you got to wear the right uniform and you have to have the right terminology when you're talking about venturing as well.
Right.
You can't call it a venture crew or, a venture scout. Like, it's venturing crew, a venturer. So.
Right. Yeah, so it's, but yeah, there are a lot of older scouts that, scouters that are like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." And, it's like,
I had to deal with those guys at
chill.
Cole. Oh my gosh, that was horrible. But
yeah, but some of the older people are nice.
Oh yeah, definitely. There are some really nice older, scouters. I mean, there's what's that guy's name at the scout shop? White hair. Oh, Andy always works with him.
John Baxter.
John Baxter.
Oh, he goes to my church.
Yeah,
I've known him. He's known me since I was a little boy.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
awesome, dude.
His wife actually, Nadine Baxter, just passed away
Oh
a
yeah,
few months ago.
I heard about that.
Yep. And because they were both big into scouting, I ran the audio for the funeral at
Oh
my
wow.
church, and that's when I saw Tom and
Hmm.
Gladys and all them. So
Oh yeah, Gladys. How's she doing?
she seems to be doing pretty good.
Is she still the prosecutor over in
No, I
Genesee
think she
County?
retired.
Oh wow. I remember that. I
Yep,
remember
yep.
that whole situation at NYOT.
Yeah, yeah. She was doing work, so there was all these graphic photos, and
Ah,
I was like, this is cool. Um, okay, so kind of moving on. One quick little tidbit. I did post that picture of the girl with the receipt. I also posted the link of the thing, and I was like, check out this receipt, and I posted the picture. So it is on our Topic Talks Facebook page, so you should check that out ASAP, as soon as frickin' possible, because it
amen.
is phenomenal. Anyway, so back to this kid, because we kind of got off on a tangent. This is really, his ambition is phenomenal. He wants
Mhm.
to be on a lifeboat. He wants to help people. Um, and I think that's honorable. I think, a lot of people who have goals like that, um, usually do really well.
Oh yeah.
I actually watched a movie last night, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was about a girl who had pretty much, she lived with her mom, and her mom really didn't treat her that great. She liked her dad, but her dad worked all the time, and her parents were separated, and she just got her best friend had died, and so she just gotten, she was in this rough spot, and so she literally just signed up for the Marines,
Hmm.
and she joined the Marines. She went through boot camp and all that.
Oh, I think I've seen this, and
Hmm.
it does it have the dog?
It's got the dog.
Yeah, I've seen this
So
one.
I watched it last night. It almost made me cry because I don't know. Ever since I got a German Shepherd, anytime I see a German Shepherd and like something happens traumatically, I like
Hmm.
cry. Um,
Yeah, what is that
because
movie
I'm like,
called?
I want my puppy. Um, so we were watching this movie, and I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Oh man, I have seen it
Um,
too. That's such a good movie.
it's a fantastic movie. So it's about this. So she joined the Marines, and she decided that um, she like in the Marines, she got stationed. She got
Hmm.
graduated and got stationed. And it didn't really say where. And she went out with some of the girls from that she was in the Marines with,
Yeah.
and she got caught peeing on a building, and um,
Got brought in the CO's
yep, she got
office.
brought in the CO's office and yelled at and told she got to clean up poop
Yep.
out of the kennels, and so and then from there she decided she wanted to work with these bomb dogs, and it's actually based on a true story.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man, that's yeah. Once you say the name, I'll be like, yes, I remember that. It was such an amazing feature, and it was just all about her trying to work with that dog, and then it does even show like her going out on bomb missions and
oh
things
yeah.
like that.
Well, and from the commercial, it looked like, because like I said, it was based on a true story.
Mhm.
It was about her fighting to have the dog, because he was getting old, he had gotten injured,
Yeah,
and she thought that it should be retired. And the head of the organization had agreed, and he wrote a letter. Well, it seemed like the vet that was doing all the work didn't
yeah,
agree. She thought the dog was too aggressive to be
yeah,
adopted.
and to be put out in like natural human,
The name of the
into the
movie was
public.
Megan Levy, by the way.
Oh,
Um, was the name of the movie, and that was
yes,
actually the girl's name.
yes.
Um,
Levy. Yeah, I remember them yelling the name, the last name at least.
yeah, and so it was.
There's even a little bit romantic side to it too. There's
Oh yeah, there was a
that
guy
one
that she
Marine.
got romantic with for a little bit, and but she decided that after her stint was up, she was done,
Yeah.
and she decided that she wasn't she was kind of done, but she wanted to adopt this dog, and they wouldn't let her, and
It's all about that battle.
right, so they wouldn't let her, and I mean at this point they were a very accomplished duo.
Oh yeah.
The dog was very good, and in the beginning of the movie, he was one of the like least trained dogs in this movie.
Stubborn and just
Yeah, he was
like
stubborn.
he
He
wasn't
actually,
working with the
he,
original trainer.
yeah, he broke the original trainer's hand. They were doing like an exercise where they were breathing,
Mhm.
and he didn't want to. And then she's like, "Okay, remove the leash," and he was like, kept lifting his head up. He's like, "No, Rex, no."
Mhm.
And this dog literally bit his hand and broke his hand.
Yeah.
And then at that point, he got the dog taken away from him, and it was given to Megan, who worked with the dog. And got gained its trust. And like I said, they were actually a really good duo. You know, they went on a mission and they were sniffing out all these. They've been on several missions while they were out in Iraq or Afghanistan, and
They got pinned down.
they were actually on a mission,
Yeah.
and they were sniffing out all these different bombs that were there. And then there was a car that was coming towards them, so they geared up. They're like, okay, let's gear up. And they got the guy out of the car. They had the dog sniffing the car, and a bomb went off.
Yeah.
And they found out later it was set off by, a building way over. So they raided that building,
yeah.
and she and her dog had actually gotten blown up in the initial explosion. And they'd figured out where it came from, and they were doing a little bit of investigating, and they were hurt. But she's like, well, let's go get those guys. We can do it. And she's like, what about the dog? And she does. I do this with Charlie. She grabbed his face and she said, "Are you okay?" Or she's like, "You're okay." And then he just got right up, and they both walked up, I'll grab Charlie by the face. I'll be like, "That was not good." I give him talking to,
Yeah.
but I'll grab his face, so he has to look at me, and he'll be like, "Sorry, I'm sorry." So they got up and they finished the mission.
Mm-hmm.
So they accomplished a lot together, and it was a great movie. If anybody hasn't seen it, I would recommend it.
Yeah, it was.
And then she gets out, she tries to fight for him, and it doesn't exactly work. They end up putting him on another tour with a different handler. And so I don't want to spoil the ending, but it was a super good movie. And I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. I don't know. Anyway, it was a super good movie. I watched it last night. And just Ambition. And in the beginning of this movie, she really had no drive. She had no purpose in life.
Yeah.
And
seemed like really depressed.
Well, and when she couldn't get the dog, she became, because she was, I mean, they had forged a bond.
Yeah.
When she
that was her everything.
Right. Well, and when it every time, because there were a couple times she went and visited the dog would like run straight to her and knew exactly who she was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those that she was like depressed for a good chunk of the movie because she couldn't have this dog that she'd fallen in love with. But she, it's funny because in the beginning of the movie she had almost no ambition. She had no clue what she was doing with her life. She kind of got fired from her dead end job, and her mom got all mad. She's like, "You can't just live live off me and live in my house and not work and blah 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 blah." And the mom was just mean.
Yeah.
And
there's a little bit of hazing in that movie too, with that little box that they made her drag around before she even got the dog.
It was an ammo can.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give her a dog. She's like, "Give me a dog." He's like, "No, but I think you can have a can." So she put a leash on this can, and she was going through all the stuff with everyone else.
Yep.
And there was one point in the movie when she's sitting there in a chair, and this is when the dog attacks the one trainer, but she's sitting there and the lady's like, "Leash is off," and then she looks over. She said, "I said leash is off." She's like, "Oh right," and so she takes the leash off the ammo can. But it was and that's when she gained the dog. But it was super funny.
Yeah.
There was also the point when she was before she had decided that she wanted, or like when she was deciding she wanted to be the dog thing.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, Levy, you're up," and they put her in like the suit for when the dogs attack.
Oh yeah.
And then one of the guys walks up and goes, he's like, "Hey, I did this with the pants. Most of the time they just go for the upper half, so it's easier to move that way." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So she took it off, and they sent Rex out, which was the dog that she ended up with, and she ended up running, and he ended up biting her butt.
Yeah.
And so it was super funny.
Yeah, and I think the movie also speaks a lot about PTSD.
It does. It really does, because there were a couple points when a car alarm would go off. She ran out. And she's like, "Don't go near the car,"
Yeah.
And
just like freak out. And it was like right after that initial explosion, they sent her to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's when it really all started, and you could really see that difference in who she was. And I think that was a big thing that spoke to and made me realize it even more. Because like obviously I haven't been through that. I've heard of it. I've definitely heard it's a big issue. I have a friend's dad who works at one of, I'm trying to think of the name. Can't remember the name now. It's where all the vets go to get like
veterinary school.
No. Vets is in like military vets.
VFW.
Yeah, he works at a hospital. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Not the name, not the specific name, but the
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
a VU. No.
VA.
VA. There we go. A VA.